Hey Mike, I'm curious what you think about people needing to own workflows when it comes to the world of AI.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this in our super secret chat WhatsApp group, but construction is a very unique snowflake where each project is a combination of different parties, right? Every project's unique. There's six, seven, eight different people or companies that are involved in every project, and it's never repeated. So what that causes is like it's a very, very hard process to create any value with an LLM because there's no standardized data. And what that leans into is if in construction you're not owning a workflow between external parties, so like, hey, I'm looking for a bid from a subcontractor, or being a source of truth or a record of truth, I don't think AI is helpful for you. Building a unique point solution that pulls down document information and creates an output is very, very hard if you don't own the data below it. So unless you're like replacing a Procore, an Autodesk, or creating a new unique workflow between parties, I think those AI companies are going to go to zero, and it's going to be interesting to see how this play out. And one position we've taken at Build Vision is like we're going out to companies that hey, maybe have raised a little bit of venture capital, and they aren't seeing the growth projections that they're looking for. Build Vision's hiring. Come join a team that we're going to hyperscale.
Yes, Mike.
That's the position we're taking, and again, like it's a challenging space, but there's a lot of opportunity to actually provide real outcomes to customers. And I think I said this on the last podcast, but like if I talked to another CEO that's like, hey, if I had the return on investment that every software promised me, I wouldn't have to build buildings. So you need to create unique ways to provide value. So our go-to-market, I told you this before, is if we don't make you money as a customer using Build Vision on the buy side, we don't take any money from you.
Actually, Mike, you and I, we chatted about the working capital in the construction industry. Can we go there? I know it takes us away from the AI a little bit, but I think you and I were equally fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I'll set you up, Mike, and then perhaps you can double down on the observation. So you and I were chatting about, hey, why is it that invoice goes from developer to general contractor to sub 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from the sub maybe to material supplier or to some other temp labor agency. And so that you have this whole chain of invoices. And I think when you run a business in this industry, you realize it. But when you're not from this industry, let me just point this out. Every invoice is actually an AR and an AP. Yeah. So you're actually multiplying and amplifying the amount of accounts receivable by just separating it that way. And so you were observing, and I'll set you up here. Hey, I mean, can't we just basically facilitate the invoice, the AR, the AP from the owner/developer to everyone in the chain and eliminate all the ARs and APs in the mean?
Yeah. Mike, also, I would say, hopefully I'm not stealing your point here, but every time that goes through an AR and AP process, some form of a markup gets added.
Yeah. I mean, the position that I took, I want someone to prove me wrong, but I think every level that you move up, you're saving 50 bips of interest.
Yeah.
So from capital provider to owner to GC to sub to supplier to manufacturer rep up to manufacturer, 7-8 steps, 4%.
On $13 trillion.
I want to, and I know
how much of that is fluff, huh? Yeah.
I don't think anyone knows. Like the story we've gone to market with is like, hey, a piece of equipment comes off the line for $1 million, like a generator from a manufacturer, and the owner ends up paying 1.7 because of fees and markups during that chain. But on top of that, there's an insurance and capital premium that no one really talks about. Look at the auto industry. Mercedes-Benz can get better capital rates from their banking entities because they're going directly to the OEM and saying, hey, we're going to go buy 50 motors this year. And I know that cash flow is coming through because here's X, Y, and Z. Look at the large developers. We talked to a developer that has 10,000 residential apartments. And, their capital motion is like, hey, we're going to go install X amount of capital annually. Why am I paying a markup on each individual project to release one air conditioning unit for that apartment building when in theory, I can go directly to that OEM and say, hey, I'm going to go buy 1,000 units a year for the next 10 years. What's the best rate? I'll guarantee you the supply. We're seeing this on the data center market already, where a Google and Amazon goes to a Kohler generator manufacturer and says, hey, we're going to buy 18 months of capacity. It just helps everybody. And then that downstream effect, like that OEM also has their entire supply chain. You go to an OEM, like they're putting pieces together from other manufacturers. So think about that velocity of capital. And if a capital provider can, again, see value and validation through an application to say, hey, this piece of equipment for this project has been released for fabrication. And with that pay app releases 50% of the capital, but that capital goes directly to OEM, doesn't go down the chain and up the chain. Again, that's only improving efficiency in the space. That's not taking a cut from anybody. That's just like, hey, capital is now more streamlined. So that's where we're at this like risk on perspective of Build Vision will absorb as much of that risk as possible until it doesn't make sense, because we think there's value on the upside.